This is a video about the brand new Denzel Curry album, King of the Mischievous South, Volume 2. Denzel Curry has been a rapper since about the early 2010s when Raider Clan was still a thing, and he started getting really big and popular when he went solo in 2016. Started making songs like ULT, released the EP 32 Zell with the song Ultimate on it that was a huge hit. And ever since then, he's had a really crazy evolution. For the majority of his career, he made really shallow trap and hardcore hip-hop music until about 2018 when he released the album Taboo, which was pretty good but not great, but definitely showed where he could go. It was a lot more conceptual and raw in its songwriting and stuff like that. But he totally blew everything else out of the water in 2022 when he released his wonderfully conceptual, introspective, lush, and jazz-influenced album Melt My Eyes, See Your Future, which just totally switched up everything else about him. This was a highly inventive release that tackled topics like destroying his ego and becoming closer with himself through religion, but still had a lot of bangers on that album that didn't really take away from its themes or concept or anything. But I guess he didn't make enough money from that album because now he's back to rapping about boring and monotonous things like random acts of violence and drugs with a million features on an album like he used to do. On this album, Denzel Curry gathered a bit of influences from 90s rappers from Memphis, Tennessee that had a very grimy and dark style, while also kind of making it a neo-revitalization thing like artists like Suicide Boys would do. But mainly throughout the album, you're just getting a lot of trap songs and hardcore hip-hop things like he used to do in 2017 or 2018. And this doesn't really sound or match up to anything like Suicide Boys or any actual 90s Memphis rappers, and only really is connected to those things through a couple of songs and features from artists that were either connected to or in 3 6 Mafia, and having the artist Kingpin Skinny Pimp actually do the interludes on the album, who was an active member of that Memphis scene in the 90s. But aside from that, like I said, it's just a trap album through and through, which just brings nothing really new or fun. The overall highlight on the album for me is the opener Ultra Shit, which has a very lo-fi, chill beat, and Denzel Curry's vocals and the features vocals are compressed to just bring this totally hazed out vibe to the song. The song's not great, it goes on a bit too long, the feature doesn't really add too much, but it's definitely the best song and most wavy and fun song here. As for everything else on the album, we really just have 10 mediocre trap songs. The song Set It Up is produced by Oogie Mane, who is part of legendary cloud rap collective Organ Undying. And the beat just kind of sounds really overly epic sounding and really forced with its like cinematic sounding strings and piano keys. And Denzel Curry's actual rapping and performance on the song just sounds really robotic and catatonic, like he didn't try and find a pocket within the beat. The song Sked features Memphis rap legend and 3 6 Mafia affiliate Project Pat, but the song just sounds really shallow and hollow and doesn't give you anything except overly loud 808s and another choppy performance from Denzel Curry on the chorus. The song Wishlist has kind of a cool vibe with its gliding, bouncy, and fast instrumental, but Denzel's performance doesn't work here because, again, he has no pocket, but he's trying to hit every single beat, and he's not really saying anything on top of that. The feature on the song, Armani White, who I'm not personally familiar with, has a pretty good performance, although doesn't really say anything remarkable or interesting. The song Black Flag is nothing really new for this album, and it suffers from a lot of the same issues like Denzel Curry's choppy flow and not saying too much, but the beat and that Mexican OT's performance actually makes the song pretty good, and something I might revisit, but every other song on here just sounds like nothing I'd ever want to come back to, doesn't captivate me, doesn't bring me back to the album. On Denzel's verse on the actual song, he says, and I quote, "I used to smart talk, but now I had to dumb it down," as if that's some kind of, accomplishment or good thing, and not a detriment to his music that makes it worse. Just for the sake of it, I'll mention the outro song, Hoodlums, which has one of the most annoying beats I've actually ever heard.
Program on here. Turn up a little bit more.
And some of the worst mixed vocals on a song, especially for Denzel Curry, who's never really had that issue. But it is saved a little bit by none other than A$AP Rocky's performance at the very, very end of the song, even though his verse is just okay. Overall, I just think Denzel Curry works better as a rapper when he isn't trying to impress anybody and works for himself, for his soul. A lot on this album, he just gets into a lot of pitfalls because he doesn't put himself in a situation or a position where he can work very well. I'm sure when he was 17 and he was making music, he totally killed it on these Memphis rap instrumentals. But he's 29 now, and he works a lot better in his music when he dives into that very deep and cerebral bag for his music. This isn't really a bad album. It just kind of goes through one of my ears and out the other without really going through my brain. It doesn't really make me ever want to come back to it, look up things about the album, or read the lyrics or anything, just because it's got nothing going on, really. With albums like this that are more trap influenced and not very lyrical, since you're not focusing on the lyrical content, you really have to create those good vibes and bounciness. But this album doesn't even do that. It's just one of the more mediocre listens I've heard this year, and this album is a 6 out of 10.